We have something so exciting for you. Do you believe dreams come true? You know, you believe in dreams. You believe in miracles, right? But I have some people sitting up here who are, even I think, are incredible dreamers. I can't believe they are making two financial dreams come true. So while we get set up here, because this is going to be recorded, and I want to make sure we get the signal that we're going. One second. Great. Okay. Ready and rolling. Okay. All right. This is session 2 of our forum today. If you were fired up with all those tips of finding access to funds to start and grow your business, I have news for you. You haven't dreamed big enough. And this session is meant to be an inspiration. Dreams come true. Remember the movie Field of Dreams? You build it, they'll come. Well, in this case, it's not a baseball field. The dreamers on this session of our panel are building something way more important. A way for minority and women-owned businesses not only to grow, but to finance that growth and perhaps eventually reap the rewards of a public stock offering. It reminds me of Johnson Products, who I interviewed, George Johnson. I got stock on the initial public offering. I was a stockbroker then for my clients. One of my friends knew him well, and we went to lunch with him. And he made sure we were allocated stock. That was a man that started a business in his bathtub, became one of the wealthiest men in this city during his lifetime, George Johnson of Johnson Products. And so whether you're thinking of a man like George Johnson or Stephen Jobs building Apple or Elon Musk building Tesla, that's the ultimate goal that brings riches to the founder. Selling your stock to the public, having a publicly traded stock. And that is what we're going to show you, I hope, how to do today. It's the free enterprise system at work. It's almost impossible, though, for minority and women-owned businesses, so I'm going to introduce you to some people whose dream it is to level the playing field and give black-owned businesses and others a path to hit a home run and slide into home plate. And that's enough of the baseball analogies, all right? Let me introduce you to, on my right, Siki Ballard. Green is the right word to ascribe to Siki. He's the founder, we got to talk about this a little, even though it's a little off subject, of Chicago-based cannabis industry lender to the cannabis industry, Good Tree Capital. And now he's just filed with the state banking regulators to form Beta Bank. He's creating a bank. This will be the second startup bank in Chicago since the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, where more than a dozen local banks went under, including 3 of the 4 black-owned banks in Chicago. I'm going to let Siki tell you the story of his new digital bank and how it's going to help small businesses get financing without what he calls, quote, the biases inherent in the typical credit approval process. But I will tell you this Harvard MBA came to Chicago from a decade in Seattle with Amazon's private label business focusing on technology. This is going to be quite a story, but first let me move on. Dwayne, Kyle's family is kind of well known in Chicago circles. They moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where his father, Reverend Samuel Billy Kyles, became the pastor of Monumental Baptist Church for 55 years. And of course, you probably know his connection to the group that included Dr. Martin Luther King and the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. So Dwayne grew up in this incredible era. His resume is littered with impressive connections. He started in the corporate law department of Johnson Products, which is what reminded me. And he was Mayor Harold Washington's special counsel for minority business development. Dwayne has spent his entire life working to help minority business enterprises get access to contracts and capital. And who's that white man down at the end of the aisle? Why is he here? This is our hurricane, okay? You got to meet Joe Cicala, the founder of something called the Dream Exchange. So Joe's historic resume in business and in the exchange world in Chicago and legislatively in Washington, D.C., getting the Main Street Growth Act passed. It could take up the whole day, but in 2018, he founded something called the Dream Exchange. And it morphed into the goal of creating the first Black-owned national stock exchange, would bring access to the capital markets. This is such a big dream, I can't even begin to describe it. Joe, I'm going to start with you. Just give me a heads up on, you can't create a stock exchange. We got the Securities and Exchange Commission. We got the regulators in Washington. We have exchanges. We have the New York Stock Exchange. We have the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. We have the Chicago Board Options Exchange. They've been around for a long time. What are you doing here? Let's just start with that.
What am I doing? That's a great question. So you're right. There are currently 7 national stock exchanges.
Joe, speak right into the mic because the room is so big.
So there are currently 7 national stock exchanges. Stock exchanges have been around in our country for 230 years. They work. They've funded the greatest inventions known to mankind. And what I discovered, I was the lawyer who helped start actually what you know is the electronic New York Stock Exchange, because a company started here in Chicago called Archipelago 27 years ago. So stock exchanges have changed. Most of the transactions and traffic is all electronic, and I began to notice about 13 years ago, doing a lot of research, that the human beings and the humanity of what the bankers were just talking about, and this conversation is probably going to take all the bankers off the hook, because it really will. What we're looking to do is create an equity market, not just a debt market, not just where people can go borrow money. And the greatest vehicle for doing that, literally in the history of mankind, has been the United States public capital markets. Everything we do today, everything we have, all the inventions we have, every amazing way that we now are able to survive in this world has been born from capital markets, from people making investments in other people who believed in the ideas. So what am I doing? We're a little less mechanical than this last panel. So, and by necessity, bankers are good people. They want to lend money and they need to concentrate on mechanics. But as a private equity and venture capital lawyer for close to the last 30 years, I can tell you that the most uncredit-worthy companies that I've worked with, well, there's 2 people who are billionaires, and when I met them, they couldn't pay my legal bill. They were uncredit-worthy, but their idea, what they dreamt about, what they saw as a future, superseded all the mechanics and all the other things. And that's why equity in a public capital market, and let me just say it this way, you put a nickel in, I could go. This is I close my eyes at night, I dream of Dream Exchange. When I wake up, I'm Dream Exchange. This is my life. And the fascinating thing that I've discovered over 30 years of representing people with good ideas, they come from everywhere. The best ideas are born in the imagination of people, and they come from all walks of life, from every community, everywhere. And they can be born in a garage right here down the street. Joey Luster's company was right down the street, okay? So the fact is, and literally born in a garage where he was mixing chemicals in a bathtub, okay? And so what we're about creating is cultivating the ideas. We believe that the imagination is where money goes to be born. So the greater your imagination, the better your idea. And when talking to private investors, and this is the difference between private markets and public markets, you have to really communicate what you're about. What's your idea? How big can your idea be? What are you dreaming of? And the bigger the idea, the more profound the idea, the more widely accepted it will become. And in the minority communities, and Dwayne will get on, he's my partner, and we are holding hands through this journey right now. The fact is that the black community has historically not participated in public capital markets. There are almost 6,300 publicly traded companies today, there are 8 black-owned companies. So that's just not a track record I'm willing to live with. And so we're dedicating ourselves to creating a brand new public capital market that serves geniuses. And there are geniuses everywhere in the black community, everywhere. They are incredibly adept at running businesses in environments that the average person just couldn't stomach. And their ideas are magnificent and they're worthy of the public capital markets. And tied to that, which has been very persuasive in Congress, is that when a company is able to enter the public capital markets, 92% of the jobs created in that company happen after they're in the public markets. So you don't have to be a mathematician to figure out that, well, there are 8 black-owned companies in the public capital markets, 92% of jobs are created in a company after it goes public. Well, you know, where I live on the north side, Allstate Insurance is right down the street. There are 25,000 employees at the corporate headquarters of Allstate Insurance, and they are not minimum wage jobs. They're human resources and marketing and treasury and production and risk management and public relations. There are thousands and thousands of people earning extremely good wages, career path, grow a community jobs. And what we intend to do is we intend to reach right here into this community and put public companies here so that the community's prosperity can grow for decades to come. This is probably something that will go long beyond my lifetime.
This is a dream, but you're going to make it a reality. Let me give you a little Terry Savage Money Lady sidebar here. Okay, you start a business, you own it. Actually, your mom gave you the money to help start it, so you gave your mom 50% of the company. And when you're profitable, you keep all the profits. And you go to the bank and they're not good about lending you money right away because you're a woman-owned or minority business. And so your growth gets stunted. But if you can show a track record of growing, maybe by getting loans from some of the things you heard about in the first session of the panel, and this business is growing and growing, you say, you know what? We're going to go get one of those investment banking firms, and we're going to let them sell maybe 30% of our stock. Mom, you and I are going to give up the stuff we own. We'll sell it to the public. Only while we value our shares now at $1 a share, because that's, you know, we just put in a little bit, we're going to sell it at $150 a share. And all those people are going to come in from the outside, and they're going to pay the company $89 a share, $112 a share to own a third of our company. Actually, we're the founders. We'll still keep control for a while. But you have all that big money to really grow and expand your company. That's what the public market does. It doesn't say, okay, we better get Uncle Joe in here to put in some money so we can open up another branch. It says, let's get all the Uncle Joes who see a good idea and think it's worth investing in, and we'll pay them dividends, and they'll hope their stock goes up as we grow. And now you've got a public shareholder base, and now you have a stock that's not you and your mom and Uncle Joe, but it's trading at, what did Apple start trading at? What is it worth now? Okay? Gazillions. That's the idea of going public. Dwayne, I'm going to come back to you in a minute because I want to get on board with Siki Ballard's dream. Now, I didn't know Siki, this is a savage truth, until yesterday. I'm reading Crane's Chicago Business, and there's a headline that says, this guy is opening up a black-owned, black-focused, minority-focused, I bet women too, please say women too, okay, bank, a new startup bank. So you're crazy, Joe and Dwayne. I'll let you prove it in a minute, Dwayne. But you're really crazy because everybody knows banks are going under. They're getting bought up. Talk to us. Siki Ballard.
Yes, we just met yesterday, and it's been a pleasure.
I said, you got to come. Thank you for coming, for being here.
The 18 hours since we've known each other. My name is Siki Ballard, everyone. I'm the founder of Beta Bank. Earlier, there was a Federal Reserve study that was referenced, and I wanted to add another layer about that Federal Reserve study. There's been a lot said about preparedness about coming with a minimum 700 credit score, about awareness. But what this Federal Reserve study shows is that all things being equal, when my balance sheet looks the same as the white guy next to me, his balance sheet, when my income statement looks the same as his, we are essentially the same person. Really, the only variable that we're controlling for is the color of our skin. I'm 3 times more likely to be denied the loan, and if I get it, it's going to be 180 basis points more expensive. Shirley Chisholm has this quote, and I might butcher it, but she says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, pull up a folding chair. And my view is that those individuals who have the same balance sheet, the same income statement, that's their version of pulling up a folding chair. And yet, somehow, that's still not effective in getting them access to capital. Ava DuVernay has another quote that I might butcher, and she says, if they won't give you a seat at the table, excuse my language, but F their table, build your own. And so that's where I am. I believe that it's been a futile effort over the last 50 years to get banks to comply with the CRA. And so my approach is to build my own table and ensure that people who are creditworthy can get access to credit, hence Beta Bank. We filed for our FDIC insurance and charter on April the 28th of this year. And we hope to be open, offering commercial accounts to businesses nationwide, but concentrated in the Chicago area in the summer of 2023. While I believe that fair access to capital or unfair access to capital is felt more acutely by minorities, felt more acutely by women-owned businesses, I believe it's actually a problem that many demographics of small business owners struggle with. And so our entire approach to fair access to capital really focuses on leveraging technology and data to assess the risk of lending to a business while not using the sorts of factors that typically bias decision-making, such as your gender, your race, your zip code. One really big challenge with traditional bankers is that they are incentivized based on volume and scale. So if they receive a $100,000 loan application versus a $1 million loan application, the cost of diligence for that loan is essentially the same. So they're going to choose the $1 million loan application every time. And what that means is that the people who are applying for these small dollar loans, they're essentially left in the cold. They have to rely on personal credit cards to be able to fund their businesses. Now, we all know that credit cards have interest rates that are in the high teens or even higher, so it's not exactly the most efficient way to fund your business, but if the banks aren't willing to grant you loans at the size you want, then it pretty much becomes your only option. And so I think with this panel, we all share a little bit of craziness to be doing what we're doing, but this is really what I'm trying to change.
I want to ask you one quick question. I think it's an obvious question. You're going to open a bank. You said that you're not going to have a brick and mortar bank, this is online. But where are you getting the money to make these loans?
The FDIC requires that you capitalize a bank before you're able to start it. So you have to start with a base of equity.
That's called money. Who's putting money in before you send it out? Okay.
Right.
You're talking banker, I talk money.
It is money, it's real money. And we've communicated to the regulators that we will start with an initial capitalization of $25 million. Now, our target for who those investors are going to be are established banks who perhaps see a route to, I don't know, maybe making their CRA numbers, corporate venture capital firms, but also, I think, community members. One of our challenges is going to be raising $25 million to capitalize the bank and still being a black-owned bank on the other side of that. If all of my capitalization comes from a legacy bank, then, you know, that means we won't be a black-owned bank when we're about to open. But that money isn't used to lend. It's used, think of it as a backstop. The money that's used to lend are actually the deposits. So when we capitalize the bank, the regulators say, okay, we feel confident that you got some capital cushion there. You can open your doors for business and start taking deposits. Our charter, once we get it, will allow us to accept deposits from across the nation. So as small businesses, sole proprietorships, single man, single woman shops, small LLCs, they start opening their accounts. Those funds are then used to make loans to those exact same businesses.
Or just grandmothers looking to put their money in a CD. It's a federally insured bank, so grandma wants to put $5,000 in, and you could pay them a little extra interest because that's going to distinguish you?
That's it. That's it.
Okay. So it's a bank.
So it's a bank.
Voila.
Voila.
Okay. Those are big dreams, folks. I mean, gee, yeah, applause, applause, applause. The man in the middle, Dwayne Kiles, as I said in my intro, has been around big dreams, but he's a financial guy. Dwayne, make sense of this opportunity. What's the message here?
Let me start by paying homage to this organization. I grew up in Rainbow Push, literally, all my life. Ain't that right, Betty? All my life I've been in this organization. So at a very early age, I was exposed to all kinds of people from all over the world. I mean, we've had everybody, there was anybody to come through those doors at Rainbow Push. And it taught me as a young person the need to make sure that whatever I did in my life, my responsibility was to make sure that I was pulling people along with me and using whatever resources I had to make sure that other people could both survive and thrive. 25 years ago, Rainbow Push started the Wall Street Project. 25 years ago. I didn't know about Wall Street, I didn't care about Wall Street, but for Rainbow Push and the Wall Street Project. The first time I really started to pay attention to what was going on was because I went to New York and saw the New York Stock Exchange and saw all this stuff going on. I was like, oh my God, this is like a whole new world. 3 of the principals in our company grew up on the west side of Chicago, including Joe. I'm gonna say that again. 3 of the principals in this organization grew up on the west side of Chicago. We didn't have silver spoons. We didn't have anything but the ability to dream. So as crazy as it might seem, what do we have to lose? What do we have to lose? Access to capital markets is an extraordinary way to give life to dreams. And that's where we really intersect, because we really are very much the same in terms of a lot of the experiences that we'd had in our lives to get here. Now, let me make something clear. I'm so proud of founders like Siki? Yes. Siki. Because there are a lot of them out here who have overcome their fears, they've overcome the barriers that are very real to varying degrees. But the fact is, most of our community is pretty clueless when it comes to issues of money. We don't know what to do. And I was among those. Rainbow Push helped kind of pull me out of that. But to the extent that we are going to have a black-owned stock exchange, our business will be successful only if we can serve all small businesses who've been left behind by the digital transformation in the public markets. There are hundreds of thousands of small businesses who cannot access public capital markets in the way that they used to. When Microsoft did their IPO, it was at $60 million. They couldn't get the time of day from the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange now because they're just too small. One of the unintended consequences of digitization was all the capital was pushed up to bigger, more successful companies. It is inefficient for us to expect them now to go back and try to get all those hundreds of thousands of businesses to provide capital, like when they said. I mean, the cost of diligence on $1 million company is pretty much the same as 1,000. So you're going to now go for all these small businesses when you got all these larger businesses that are making you a fortune? It's not going to happen. So Joe very intentionally studied, we have a white paper that studied the impact of this digitization because he was one of the initial people involved in here.
Oh, hold on one second.
Oh.
I was just granted 5 more minutes because we started late. So I want to do one thing before I let you wrap it up with
Okay.
some inspirational words.
Okay.
I'm going to ask each of you two founders of these digital, they are digital, they're not buildings, they are a way to grant access to the next step in creating wealth, okay? And I'm going to start with you again, Joe. You just give me 2 minutes on, okay, what does that mean for my small business? I want the practical 1, 2, 3 of this, Joe, real quickly.
So for the small businesses today, and this is no offense to someone who's, you know, perhaps the dry cleaners, those are small businesses. But a true entrepreneur, I've often said you're not a real entrepreneur till you have put your payroll on your credit cards. I'm guilty. For that entrepreneur, the getting them out of the lending environment and getting them access to the nation electronically today, because we are in a technological environment where you can reach the entire nation, Robinhood, and there's apps on your phone. So if you're a small business owner, we're creating a capital market where we can do a public offering for as little as, if you're raising $5 million. And the key criteria, someone actually asked me, I think it was you as we were walking up the stage, what type of businesses? Anyone. If you have a good idea and you need $5 million or more dollars in about 9 months, we're in our application process as well. In about 9 to 12 months, you'll be able to come and access the entire nation of capital investing people who believe in your idea. So the key that you could do, what you could do today to prepare yourself, the first thing you need to do is at the very top of everything, decide what the goal is. What are you trying to accomplish? What's the idea? Because great, there are many, many businesses who get caught up in the mechanics. Don't do that. Tesla Motors didn't actually make any money until last summer. It's the world's largest auto manufacturer. It didn't make money till last summer. Why? Because the idea behind retail sales of electronic vehicles is an idea whose time has come. So that's what you should be doing as a small business owner right now. Get your goals together. Work with your bankers on the mechanics. We're not here to push anybody aside. But if you have an idea, and I've seen this over and over and over, if you have a great idea and it can expand, and you can tap into, there were $142 trillion, $142 trillion traded on stock exchanges last year. That's an enormous amount of money. We don't have to get $142 trillion in equity into small businesses in America to make literally tens of thousands of small public companies thriving. So if you have a good idea, and I'm going to probably pay you for
You're going to slap my face for saying this, but is this sort of like, I'm going to try and translate this, the money lady arises. It's like a GoFundMe kind of a thing where people get to own a piece of your business in exchange?
Yeah, and it's
in
on
a way.
It's on top of that. That's actually a great analogy. But GoFundMe, crowdfunding.
Yeah.
When you invest in GoFundMe, when you invest in crowdfunding, it's all there today. Well, the problem
I'm
with
going
that
to
is
interrupt you for 1
you
second.
can't resell your shares. Oh,
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second.
interrupt me.
We are joined by the original dream, the man with the original dream. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Oh. I'm coming down.
One more time, everybody.
Oh my God.
everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Subject we must discuss is the state of finances in the country and in the world. We could put a lot of into the last 50 years on politics. Political power is very important. And economic power is the real deal. But politics elected who are running cities by the rules of the masses, the administrators. They're administering some of the rules. We need new rules to have a new game. And while we spent these 50 years working on, we're going to start on consumer power. 50 cities, we got mayors in there, we get build. If we have a force that can move 100,000 people to buy and invest in a given situation, we have power. Any corporation in America has to deal with our consumer power. We may or may not vote. We always spend. We always consume. So I'm interested in that. And the reason why the New Markets Initiative came up as a plan for us is that we looked up and all about black coaches. Black coaches will do very well because they've done very well. They've all been winners. So in fact, if they look at the coaches winning, Levin Smith had more wins in Chicago than any coach ever. 66%. He got fired. The real deal is not coaching on the field, it's the infrastructure. The procurement, we're trying to get the procurement budget. Those companies, they use oil, they use construction companies, they use advertising, they use media, you advertise on black radio, black television, the whole 9 yards. So we're focused on the New Markets Initiative. Many of the universities, Ohio State, they have a big football game, 110,000 people. They buy products, goods and services. So we will focus on those markets. Some of them will agree, will, as Mr. Ricker said, they'll have to boycott. But I tell you, at the end of the day, we must look at the new markets and new possibilities. You get an average product in Walmart stores, the distribution makes it a great product overnight. A great product is not the distribution, it's not a good deal. So we're going to focus a lot on, so you guys continue to be, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You've always been a visionary, and that clearly has not stopped. And all these people you've inspired are following in your footsteps, understanding the power not only of politics, but of money. Thank you so very much for inspiring all of us. I'm so good to see you. Thank you. Well, I'm just going to give, I think this has been a wonderful session. I know we're moving on, but I just want to give our participants who came all this way here today a chance to say one last thing. Joe, how will we know that the Dream Exchange has opened up?
So we will be publishing very soon our application, and when it's published, you will get...
Operation Push is going to make a big deal out of it,
Yes,
okay?
Among others.
All right, Siki, when Beta Bank opens up, black-owned, you need black depositors, you need black investors in the capital structure. How are you going to connect? I mean, this is the pipeline right here. This is a mother lode. How are you going to connect with the black community in Chicago and let us all know what's happening?
This is how. Our website is www.betabank.com. If you are a business owner, go and sign up to be a part of the wait list, and you'll receive updates about when our charter is approved by the state and when we're open for business. If you're interested in supporting Beta Bank as an investor, you can go to the website and also sign up to do just that.
Okay.
And I invite you all to be a part of it.
Okay, and Dwayne, I give you 1 cent for the last word. Dream. You've been a dreamer all your life. What's the last word on this?
Pay attention to what's going on with these businesses because they're going to change the game.
Thank you both, all of you, for changing our game. Thanks to all of you in our audience.